Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sales Showdown, brought to you by Supermoon. We're back today with two former moving sales pros going head to head across four important sales strategies. We covered objection handling, follow up, and upselling in our last battles. Now it's time for our fourth and final battle Playbooks. Nail every sales call with confidence. Dive into battle tested scripts and learn how to navigate conversations smoothly. Build rapport and guide your prospects towards a resounding yes. Let's jump right into it. Ryan, what are your thoughts on playbooks?
Oh, great, George. Every sales and customer service team, regardless of the size of your company, should absolutely have a playbook. How do you win a customer over on the first call? The old saying goes, people buy people before they buy a product or service. And I'm sure you all know that especially rings true in this industry today. So how do you create such a warm environment over the phone that your future customer feels that you are there for them and their family? So you want to implement something simple to start that keeps consistency with each sales rep and every phone call. To start, track your sales reps closing ratios and dig into why your best rep is your best rep, and also see why your underperforming rep is not at the same scale as your top performer. My personal assumption is that your highest converting rep is digging in and asking the right questions, while the lower performing rep is just probably trying to book the survey and kind of get off the phone with the customer and moving on to the next call. So my personal playbook was really rather simple. It all started by leading with the questions I asked. Each question had a very specific function that would allow me to dig a little bit deeper without having to basically straight up ask any uncomfortable questions. So now that we all know that we need the, we all know that we need the basic, move information to kind of get the move off the ground. And these should absolutely be included in your playbook. Your name, getting an email, phone numbers, hopeful move dates, origin, destination. I mean, you guys get all this. So, but what are some of the questions we should be asking that will not only create an amazing customer experience, but also help you close more deals and build that level of trust that your competitors just are not? As a good practice, something I would personally do is I would actually call all the moving companies in our area just to see how they handle incoming phone calls. What questions did they ask? What questions should they have asked? Did they rush me to get off the phone, or do they even have a playbook? And that's something you can pick out pretty quickly. And when you get off the phone with them, ask yourself, would you book a move with them or not? Did they lead the call? Did you lead the call? To take it a step further, have some of your friends and family call into your moving company. We called these phone pops back in my day. So I'm not sure if you did that with any of your companies, James, but, and get their feedback, on how your sales reps handled the call. That first point of contact with a future customer can make or break you. And this also ties back into, knowing your competition that, James and I chatted on the other day. But let me get right into it. I know I got a lot to say here, so I'll try to keep it simple and right to the point. But the top three questions I always ask first to set the tone of the call and build the rapport with the customer were simple, yet absolutely ground paving. The first question I would always ask the customer is, are you excited to move? It's a simple question that will give you a ton of information in the long run. One or two things are going to happen. You're either going to get a yes or you're going to get a no. And, this info will also kind of give you their temperature and stress level pre-move. So obviously, if they're excited, lead with some excitement, right? Find out why they're excited. Is it a vacation home? Are they retiring? Are they moving closer to family? Is it a new job? It's okay to ask the questions. Now, on the other half, if they're not excited, let's say from a recent divorce, job change, I guess you could be excited from a divorce as well, too, right? But, or were they forced to move and, they're now leaving family and friends behind? You can now speak with empathy and compassion as you have a deeper understanding for their stresses and their specific situation. So for me, and I'm sure all of us out there, every move is a bit different. Each individual had a specific and unique scenario that they were trying to navigate. The second question I always asked was, have you ever moved professionally before? The key word here is professionally. Everyone has moved at some point in their lives, whether it be a pickup truck, a U-Haul, or hired a bunch of buddies and friends or family to kind of get them from womb to tomb here. But this question will gauge their previous experience with other moving companies. So depending on their answer, again, if it's a yes, find out what went well and also what didn't go so well in their last move. This question will bring out the customer's previous pain points, and you can leverage these answers later in the process to continue building trust or even open up opportunities for upselling, and most importantly, ensuring your customer has a smooth and stress-free move. Now, if the customer has never moved professionally before, this is where you can dive into your moving process and set the expectations both for the customer and your moving company. Give the customer a heads up of what moving looks like professionally with your company. Now, even if the customer does say yes, you should obviously touch on the moving process prior to, you know, either way. Because the one thing I've learned is that moving companies operate so differently. So it's a good practice to explain your process to them and next step as well. Finally, the last question I would always ask before I got kind of in the meat and potatoes of origin, destination, and services was, what's the best way to communicate with you? AKA, how do you prefer to be contacted? Is it by text? Is it by phone? Is it email? And also, is there any particular time that works better for you? So for me, finding a preferred method of communication and times availability ensured I reached the customer when they were available, and it also showed I cared and respected their time. This also helps with the follow-up in the future with them as well. You know when they're available, you know how they like to be communicated, and it works super, super well. So really kind of to sum it up, guys, asking these three questions really opened the doors up for communication and building that next level of trust with the customer. It also gave me a good idea on how to level up their move, aka up value, as we talked about a couple shows ago. This will 100% set you apart from your competitors, help you close more deals, and gain killer reviews. The more we can get to know our customer up front and their needs by leading with the questions we ask, the more success we will have. So, with that, James, I know you had a solid playbook, my man, and your sales process was pretty tight. How much did we differ, and what are some ways that we were similar?
Yeah. So your first kind of thing, seeing why they're moving, are they excited to move? I would always ask that. I would kind of say, are you excited, stressed, or a little bit of both? And, 8 out of 10 times, it's probably both, right? It's usually kind of a dual thing when when you're moving. Or if they're not stressed now, then they're definitely going to be stressed pretty soon. And then I like how you kind of focus on professionally, right? A lot of people have moved before, and I feel like I probably asked them that too, but probably should have honed in a little more on professionally. But then usually when I did, it's almost full of horror stories, right? Unfortunately. Or a family member, got screwed over by a moving company, or, something happened and we're only getting one side, and we know that clients aren't always right with how much they're moving and all that stuff. But, it's something we definitely have to fight in this industry. And your last point, when and how to communicate. I didn't do that. That's a great idea. I think I did a little subconsciously, because I remember booking a few moves where maybe I talked to the person maybe once or straight through text. And they wanted something quick, where these other moving companies kept calling them, kept leaving voicemails. The person's super busy, work, life, moving, whatever. And just the fact that they can answer a quick text, helped a lot, especially for a basic local small quote. Um, yeah, and then kind of what you said, it's hard to find a point where I disagree. So I figure what I can do is I can kind of go into the actual playbook process, that I learned kind of how to structure your sales team in a way. And kind of when you start, obviously you have a new rep. A lot of times owners of companies that are doing sales at first, and then they start growing and they start adding other estimators. Sometimes it's rough because they expect that, new sales rep to know all the ins and outs of giving a quote to the client. And it might kind of seem like common sense for them, but moving is such a specific industry that even if they have sales experience, they're not going to know to ask or to tell them how they're going to wrap or pack, the glass shelves in a china cabinet, right? That's just not going to stick out to them until they have a lot of calls and they see what's going on. Or if they have moving experience, right? I think we all know a lot of really good movers that, kind of ditched the dolly, went for the desk, and, were really good estimators and knew exactly how long moves are going to take because, they did the moves. So I would start there. I think that would be like your kind of ideal candidate. But either way, when you start somebody, go over the company history. JK Moving was really good at that, going over the company history, the missions, the values. I don't remember our 8 little sayings, unfortunately, anymore. But like once a month, Chuck Kuhn would come out, and I think you get like 50 or $100. He would just call you randomly, and you just kind of say your 8 core values. So that was really cool. And when us reps know more about the company, and if we have faith in the company that we're pitching to, like the client can really feel that trust, that we're trusting our company to do a good job. We're telling you how awesome it's going to be. Like, we better back it up, right? It's super important. Also, you kind of want to go over any services you offer, you want to go for benefits and values. So if it's decluttering or, even just adding or having valuation, extra packing, debris removal, you basically want to make a chart. So do your service, the benefit of that service, and then the value of that service. And that way, when a question pops up or an opportunity to upsell, your estimator will know exactly what to say and how to convince the client that it might be good for them. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but teach them the CRM, right? There's a ton of CRMs. Me and Ryan are obviously a little biased now with Supermove, but there's a ton of CRMs, and I've gotten thrown into jobs where it's like, here, like, talk to this client. You're trying to figure out like what to click, and especially like homegrown CRMs for moving companies. So there's no kind of backbone to fall on. Yeah, please teach your reps how to use the CRM, and then really the process. Like, again, it kind of sounds common sense. Like, we book the call, it somehow goes to dispatch, whatever your company does, puts it on the calendar, texts, whatever, and then kind of dispatch usually handles it from there. While some companies, also expect their estimators to kind of do that nurture role, customer support. So really define exactly what you want them to do. And like Ryan said, take your best rep, figure out what they're doing. If you're the best rep, then figure out what you're doing, and literally just spend an hour or two and write it out. Write a chart, write a line, see exactly what you're doing to book all these moves, so that way you can train, the new reps. And then with training, go through objections, getting information, overcoming the objections, any opportunity to upsell. Like, we don't want to push a service they definitely don't need, but if you don't ask for upsell, a lot of times you're not going to get that upsell, and you just want to do this very regularly. So I think the most common we did was a weekly sales meeting, like just us, the sales reps together, and then a monthly town hall. So it's dispatch, operations, management, everybody kind of doing about an hour-long slideshow. And obviously that was for a huge company. So smaller companies are not going to have to waste all that time. But, just something to kind of bring dispatch, operations, sales, the movers especially, all in one kind of, one place. Because Ryan, I'm sure you've kind of dealt with it too, right? Movers kind of hang out with movers. Estimators are kind of with estimators.
Yeah, well, one thing that we did, and I don't want to cut you off here, James, but every morning during the summer, during peak season, we'd have 15-minute huddles. And it was basically our sales, ops, finance coordinators. And it was really just kind of what's on our plate, what's going, where we at, and just really kind of connecting the dots. And kind of back to connecting the dots, you mentioned something about a moving company and their values. It's my job, have moxie, connect the dots.
Yeah, there you go.
I know their values, but no, I'm not going to hog up the space with their values. But I've got those right here.
I'll
for the next battle.
I'll message Chuck. I'll tell him he owes you $50.
It's $100 now.
Is it 100? Oh man, I should have stayed. Yeah, I've only done this at one company, and I did not like it, but it was definitely useful. Doing a little role play in the morning, quickly go through like a specific scenario that you're kind of running into problems, or an objection that's really kind of stopping you from booking the client. Usually, at least for me, even like a day in between or like a weekend, I feel like the Monday morning calls I made were always a little rusty, just kind of getting into that flow to really connect with the client. So, try to waste that like on a colleague or a rep, right? Just get it out and really focus on what you're having problems with. And there's always like a level of, being competitive, right? You want to get the most meetings booked, or not meetings booked for this one, but jobs or moves booked. And then also, when you kind of get to that competitive level, like, it's good to have that, right? It's sales. Like, you always want to be the best, whether it's like upselling or packaging or getting storage, whatever kind of metrics you want to run. But when you have a sales team that really works together, and that another rep's going to make you better if you make them better, we all have different things that we're really good at, that builds up the sales team. So it's kind of hard, but make sure everyone stays competitive but friendly, if that makes sense at all. Just try to do it.
That can be hard to do.
It's hard to do. Yeah, it's hard to
do. Ideal sales reps, I mean, they should work well together, feed off each other, build that energy off each other, and ultimately crush it together. But again, sorry for popping in there, James.
No. Well, Supermove does it really well, right? But yeah, bring it to the moving industry. And then once you go through this, and it sounds, like a lot, like a huge onboarding process, but it's going to save you, the owner or your manager, so much time in the long run to, get these people right on, start on the right foot, have them have a detailed outline of how they're going to go through their training, their onboarding. Are they hitting calls the first day? Or can they? Is that going to lead, to them to missing, a booked move? Have them shadow another rep, see how they're talking, what kind of information they ask first. And once you kind of start that basis, I really think you should kind of do the exact opposite. Like leave them, let them take the wheel, let them call. Don't be right over their shoulder, breathing on their shoulder. No one likes that. It doesn't make better salespeople. It's just weird because you're not going to be over their shoulder, the whole time. And you can run reports and all that stuff, but do that behind the scenes. Listen to the recorded calls, have constructive, feedback of what they should have done, or maybe you'll notice on a call that they should have asked if they wanted to book today. Dates are tightening up. They really had a good conversation. They mentioned that, price wasn't a problem. You were, you're in budget. So anytime you have like a little opportunity like that, you definitely want to go for it. And in terms of sales reports, if you have a CRM, obviously that makes things a lot easier. But even, phone systems, a lot of them will have like connected calls or talk time. So any kind of data you can get is, it's there. It's helpful to look at. And like Ryan said, look at your best rep. Are they talking more on the phone? Are they doing follow-up better? Probably, right? That's usually what it is.
Yeah.
But follow-up, talk time, how quickly are they responding to a lead? That's a huge thing as well. And then, yeah, stay on them, regular feedback, coaching, weekly, monthly, whatever you want to do. And just continuously make sure that they have a voice. Like if they think something will work better or they've noticed something, don't just shut it off, even if they're new, really take their input and yeah, put it all together, call it, I think Great Nation called it a moving Bible. I think that's what we called it. But, make a huge thick thing with printouts and all that good stuff and just stay on top of your reps.
I feel like we almost need to, throw a plug in here, man. Obviously, yes, we're with Supermove, but a lot of things we've been talking about here, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it, unless James, you want to say it. But everything we've kind of talked about here, right? Having that playbook, being able to train the sales reps, checking on the call recordings and without being over that particular sales rep's shoulder, but check out the Sales AI Copilot. And again, I'm not sure I was supposed to throw that plug in there, but honestly, it is truly a game changer, and not a sales piece by any means, but it is an absolute game changer if you want to win over your customers and stomp out that competition.
I think we've done good, not Supermove, buy Supermove.
Yeah, I don't think we haven't said any of that, but I just straight Copilot, Playbooks, Copilot, check it out. It really is incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yep, totally agree.
Take it away.
There you have it, folks. That wraps up our final battle, Playbooks. So as our pro said, when it comes to your sales team, you want to make sure you're constantly coaching and training reps to have the best things to say in all sorts of different situations. It's an ongoing process, and it's important you consistently look out for what's working and what's not so that you can clearly communicate that to the rest of your sales team. Sometimes you're going to have reps that are going to be doing exceedingly better than others, and it's your job to figure out what that is and check out any data that you can related to their job so that you can replicate that among the rest of your team. When it comes to your customers, make sure you're always digging deeper and don't just get the basic info. You want to try to build a strong rapport with them and take the time to really understand why they're moving, what's causing them to choose you, and what their values are. That way, you can connect all the different things that we talked about in the past lessons with objection handling, following up, and make sure that you have a higher chance of closing that lead. Thank you for checking out our Sales Showdown, and we hope you have a great busy season. Thank you.